The 2nd Avenue fire, February 27, 1975, created a major headache for network engineers, which Ben and I did not know about at the time. The reason was that we had never spent any time using a panel phone line at someone's home or business. We had only used payphones, and the headache that the fire created was not evident from payphones. It wasn't until Thanksgiving 1975, when I spent some time at the West 73rd Street panel using a home phone, that I found out just how much of a problem that fire was for the routing network of New York City vis-a-vis panel, home, and business phones. Actually, Ben did spend some time at a home phone with the Esplanade 7 Kenmore Place panel during the fire outage period, but it was a short time, and uncharacteristically for Ben, he didn't do a thorough exploration, and so he didn't encounter the headache from there. He did manage to catch one network reroute for Gotham Tandem, which I covered in the last program. So today I'm going to give you a tour of the tapestry of tandems used by the West 73rd Street panel, minus what the fire knocked out. This is what we would have heard had we been at West 73rd Street using a home phone early on the day of the fire, February 27th. I'll show you all the tandems that it uses, but there will also be some gaps in the coverage that have to do with the headache that the fire caused. So let's get started. Operator services are no longer handled by a cord board at all. I don't know when the cord boards were taken out, but I can tell you that in early 1972, Manhattan still had them. By 1975, I don't think any were left. So TSP, Traffic Service Position, out of West Street Tandem 5, handles both 0 dialed by itself and 0 plus, where you dial the number you're calling and an operator comes on the line to handle the billing details. Here's a recording from that tandem gotten by dialing 0, followed by 800-555-1212.
I'm sorry. We're unable to complete your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again or ask the operator for assistance. This is a recording.
2124.
I'm sorry. We're unable to complete your call as dialed.
In panel, when you don't hang up long enough from a TSP or CAMA type trunk, you do get a reorder like this. Most of the recordings I'll be featuring in this program were recorded off the phone line, and so that hum you hear before and after the call is the idle line sound. Now, the West Street building, which is the famous 140 West Street, does have a companion tandem. West Street Tandem 4, which has the same recording ID as Tandem 5, is for outgoing long-distance calls that do not involve an operator. And for panels and crossbar 1s, it does the billing function, Centralized Automatic Message Accounting, CAMA. But New York Telephone, in its rather creative way of allocating its outgoing long-distance tandems, has chosen to use a tandem in a different building for station-paid calls from this particular panel, and that is 10th Avenue Tandem 3. The 10th Avenue tandems are in the same building as the Long Lines New York 7 4A.
2123.
But the New York Telephone crossbar tandems are referred to as 10th Avenue. Tandem 1 with recording ID 21211 is used for Centrex CU. Tandem 3, recording ID 21243, is used for outgoing long distance, that is station paid. and Tandem 2 sharing the 21243 ID until maybe sometime in the end of the 70s it became 21222. That one is for 0+ for whatever offices use it. Here's a call to a vacant code in the toll-free 800 NPA.
I'm sorry. We are unable to complete your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or ask your operator for assistance. This is a recording. 21243. I'm sorry. We are unable to complete your call as dialed.
For northern New Jersey, area code 201, a special tandem is used, again in the West Street building, VZ Tandem 3. The panels and crossbar 1s in Manhattan send the 7-digit number via PCI to this tandem.
I'm sorry, we are unable to complete your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or ask your operator for assistance. This is a recording. 2128. I'm sorry.
One odd thing about West Street is that they almost never used the Owen Murphy standard tape.
I'm sorry. We are unable to complete your call as dialed.
Most of the recordings most of the time were done by that lady who I call Sally O'Malley.
I'm sorry, we are unable to complete your call as dialed.
But 2124 had Jane Barbie
I'm sorry.
for a good part of the 70s. Suffolk County, the eastern part of Long Island, is long distance from New York City, except for the Nassau border zones. Calls to Suffolk County go through the normal long-distance outlet, 10th Avenue Tandem 3. Here's a call to a number 101 ESS Centrex, homed on the Riverhead number 5 crossbar office. 10th Avenue Tandem 3 has direct trunks to almost every switching entity in Suffolk County, and when those are unavailable, it uses Deer Park,
5168, 5169.
or for offices in the extreme eastern part of Long Island, it will use the Riverhead or Southampton crossbar 5 tandems. This call goes direct from 10th Avenue to the Riverhead crossbar 5, which quickly connects us to the 101 ESS.
This is a recording. You have reached the Long Island Lighting Company Operations Center at Doctors Path, Riverhead. The number you have dialed is not a working number. Please check your directory or dial operator for assistance. Thank you.
The areas of Cold Spring Harbor, Farmingdale, and Amityville are on the border between Long Island's Nassau and Suffolk counties. These are message unit, not long-distance calls from here. 6 message units for the initial period. These areas don't go through local tandems. They go through 10th Avenue.
21243.
Here is a call to one of several number 101 ESSs homed on Farmingdale's 420 office. 10th Avenue uses a direct trunk to the Farmingdale crossbar 5. Now here's where the headache caused by the fire starts to come into the picture, because the rest of Nassau County is off the map right now. As an example, let's try to call Ivanhoe 5 in Hempstead, Long Island. Now here's a call to the slightly closer inn, Lynbrook 9 in Nassau County. Due to my lack of experience using panel home phones, I don't know how these calls ought to be going through, but again I'm surprised because the #1 crossbars in this part of Manhattan all use Jamaica tandem,
21236,
part of what I call the revertive layer, to reach the main part of Nassau County, and that would seem to me to be a natural thing for panels to do. But something is definitely different here because the route that it is trying to take to get to Hempstead is different from the route it's trying to take for Lynbrook. This is not the case from the crossbar ones, which use Jamaica tandem for both parts of Nassau County. But here is the call trying to go through to Hempstead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here's Lynbrook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The group, which is the second routing digit on the district frame, is different depending upon whether you're trying to call Hempstead or Lynbrook. So we know that two different routes are being attempted. Also, this suggests that whatever tandem it's trying to use is on the district frame and is very likely a revertive tandem. But again, I don't know why it's not using Jamaica in both cases. Interesting. So Nassau County, except for the Suffolk border zones, which go through the long-distance tandem, is off the map for now. Let's try Queens. 461 is a #1 crossbar in Flushing. It's in the Queens tandem sector. Assuming the sector tandems have any relevance here, let's see how it goes through. Well, this is definitely a new route. In the 1960s, this panel used something else. What it's doing now is MFing to some crossbar tandem over T-carrier, and this sounds like... Yeah, I'd say that's 1972. The tandem doesn't let you hear the outpulsing, again, which is typical for trunks that came in around 1972. This is probably Queen's tandem. Here's another call to a Flushing crossbar 1. there's a nice bombastic crossbar 1 busy signal, so intense that you almost don't notice the T-carrier. Okay, so fortunately Ben dialed extra digits on a code that goes to this same route, which did trigger the tandem to give us a recording.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 21235. I'm sorry, your call did not go through.
Yes, indeed, that's Queen's Tandem, formerly known as... Right. So the Queens sector seems to be going through Queen's Tandem, but it's a new route. Ben's research indicates that it was probably Metropolitan or Knickerbocker Tandem that handled this until about... Well, that sound says 1972, but it could have been 1973 or 4 when they made the switch. I just know it wasn't before 72. Metropolitan and Knickerbocker tandems were panel sender tandems. They specialized in handling calls that crossed the East River. Okay, let's try something in the Richmond Hill sector of Queens. The Jamaica Central office is just full of crossbar 1s. OL8 is one of them. That's first-generation T-carrier to a crossbar tandem which, at least this time, allowed us to hear the outpulsing. Let's do another. Here's a call to the VI8 crossbar 1 in 115th Avenue, Queens. It probably is Richmond Hill, though I'm surprised that this panel is MFing to it, because Richmond Hill likes to receive revertive pulse, and there's no problem doing that on T-carrier. In any event, here is dialing extra digits on a code that goes through to this same route.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 21237. I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 21237.
21237 is Richmond Hill Tandem 1. We got a reorder the first time. That might have been from Tandem 2. Maybe its recording isn't working. So, the Richmond Hill sector goes through Richmond Hill. It's a new route. Most of these codes probably went through Metropolitan and Knickerbocker originally. The Queens sector seems to be going through Queens, but there's a problem, because not all of the Richmond Hill sector is going through. Here's what happens when we try to call Laurelton, which is just southeast of Jamaica, up against the Nassau County border. And now here's a call to Bayside, in the Queens sector in northeastern Queens. So apparently, parts of the Richmond Hill and Queens sectors don't go through Richmond Hill and Queens. At least, not on the regular trunk group. And you know what's even weirder? The route that it's trying to take is the same route that it was attempting when we called Lynbrook, Long Island. There is something about the way panels use tandems that I just have never seen. I wish I'd gotten to a panel home phone before the fire. All right, Bushwick. In the sector tandem layer, which may be relevant now that it's the 70s, the Bushwick sector is the western part of Queens, Astoria, Long Island City, and the Newtown CO, which is in Elmhurst, plus the Brooklyn-Queens border area in both boroughs. Let's try a few codes in that area. I have some direct open reel recordings of calls to the Bushwick sector that were made during the daytime with a speeded up dial, but it's going to go through the same way as what we would have found the morning of the fire. GR8 is a crossbar 5 in the Newtown office. I'm pretty sure this is a wire trunk group to Bushwick. We'll check it out in a little while. HI3 is a crossbar 5 in the same building as the Bushwick crossbar tandem. ST4 is a panel in Long Island City. The very fact that it's MFing to a sector tandem proves this is a new route. probably early 70s, and Ben's research suggests that these areas went through Metropolitan Tandem originally. Okay, now back to nighttime recordings dialed slowly. Here are extra digits on a Bushwick call. Now, Bushwick sometimes doesn't give you a recording, he'll give you a distorted reorder. If that happens, I'll hang up and try it again.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 21231. I'm sorry, your call did...
Bushwick Tandem 2 was originally designated 21240, but that never turned out. They both used 21231, and it might be that for this condition, one of them always gives a distorted reorder, and the other usually gives a recording. The tapes do suggest that, so maybe you can tell the two tandems apart that way. They are functionally identical in every other way, except if you want a PCI into Bushwick, that requires you to use Tandem 1 only. Now that we've arrived at the Bushwick sector, we're dealing with an area where this panel has a number of direct trunk groups to certain end offices where there's a community of interest. In this program, I'm going to underrepresent the direct trunks because I'm focusing on all the tandems. But here's one of them in the Bushwick sector, the ST9 Crossbar 1 in Rockaway Avenue, Brooklyn. This is a daytime call.
What coordinated number did you call?
789-9950.
Thank you.
The correct number for the business office is 834-9950. This is a recording. The number is 834-9950. If you are not calling the telephone company business office, please consult your directory and dial again.
It should be noted that on all of the successful calls we've made except one, the outgoing trunk group was on an office frame. And so after we dialed the appropriate digits, we heard the sender making the selection through two switches. That's 4 revertive digits. We heard it on this last direct trunk call, as well as on calls to Bushwick, Richmond Hill, Queens, West Street 5, VZ Tandem 3. The only exception was 10th Avenue Tandem 3, whose trunks were directly on the district frame, and so you only got 2 digits. What I don't know is whether, pre-fire, the trunks were directly on the district frame. So that detail in this program may be inaccurate for February 27th. That said, what comes up next is a trunk group that has always been on the district frame because it's part of the revertive layer. When a panel uses one of the crossbar tandems that make up the revertive layer in the traditional way, the trunks appear on the district frame, so you get two panel digits like this. But then the next two digits, which the sender and decoder are using to select the route, end up going not onto a panel office frame, but instead into the crossbar tandem. Those second two digits tell the crossbar tandem which outgoing trunk group is desired. And so the selection for a call going through Brooklyn tandem, which is coming next, will sound more like this. Notice how the second two digits have a regular pulse rate and are clearly not coming from a panel switch. Here's a supervision test in the Ulster 3 Crossbar 1 in 14th Avenue, Brooklyn. This goes through Brooklyn tandem. I'm happy to say that this route that we're hearing now, Brooklyn tandem, was probably in use before the 1960s. Now, of course, in most parts of the telephone network, when a call is going through a tandem, you can hear it quite clearly. Sometimes you know because there's a cut through to an outgoing trunk, which is clearly audible, and then a pause, and then finally a cut through to the end office. We had an example like that with Queen's tandem. Here's that example again, starting with the last digit dialed by the telephone subscriber. Sometimes it's even more obvious because the tandem itself allows you to hear the outpulsing. Here's a Bushwick example, starting with the last digit dialed. Pretty obvious. But when the panel or crossbar 1 office you're dialing from is using a crossbar tandem in this 7-digit revertive pulse way, it's very subtle because you stay connected to the originating sender until the call is finished going through. It doesn't sound as if there's an intermediate switching point between the place we're calling from and the place we're calling, but there is. That second revertive pulse conversation is going on between the tandem and the called office. You just don't hear it. However, there is a telltale pause that you will notice if you dial the entire number quickly and then just sit back and wait. Here's a call from this panel going through Mount Vernon Tandem 1. It's in area code 914, so you have to dial 6 digits before the pulsing starts. But this one is dialed all at once, and you'll notice that you hear pretty much all the pulsing and then a long pause, then it cuts through and rings. This panel is doing the same thing Gotham Tandem was doing in the last program. But Gotham is the only place where you can hear everything that's going on, pulsing-wise. Now some more examples of this panel subtly using Brooklyn Tandem. Here's Buckminster 20000 in the Albemarle Road building. Same building as Brooklyn Tandem, this is a panel. Now the last four digits, 0000 in a panel, convert to 11111. So the pulses you hear in between the last four digits will seem extremely short because they are.
What number?
Buckminster 20000.
The number you dialed, BU20000, is not a working number. Please consult your directory and dial again. This is a recording. Please consult your directory and dial again. By 2. Operator?
Yes, calling Buckminster 20000.
Thank you. It's not a working... Hello?
Yes,
It's not a working number. Please consult your directory and dial again.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Here's a call to the busy signal in Gedney 4, a panel in the Kenmore Place building. The busy signal of this panel is kind of distinctive because it has a subtle high tone mixed in with the low tone. That was filtered so as to point it out. This panel, being consistent with the tradition, does not have King's Tandem.
21232.
Instead, it has direct trunks to most of the offices in downtown Brooklyn, and for the others, it uses Brooklyn Tandem. Here is 643, a crossbar 5 that's in the Bridge Street building, same building as King's Tandem, going through Brooklyn Tandem. so it seems like all is right with the world vis-a-vis calls from here to Brooklyn. But no. Here is a call to NI5, a crossbar 1 in Avenue R, Brooklyn. Here we go again. It's trying to use the same route as Lynbrook, Long Island. And you know, the funny thing is that this office can be reached through Brooklyn Tandem. I know it works, but it's not trying to use Brooklyn Tandem. The recording ID, by the way, is 21228 for Brooklyn Tandem, but this routing is so old I feel like I don't want to use the recording ID because that only goes back to the late 60s, while this way of using Brooklyn Tandem goes back to 1948. Well, this is taking a lot longer than I expected, but it's beautiful, the sounds of this particular panel at night. Frankly, I especially like it when it MFs. Quite possibly the nicest sounding panel overall, although it's got some stiff competitors. I like Tremont 2, Tremont 8 in Grand Concourse. Anyway, I'm going to put the rest of the Fire Day Tandem survey in the next program, so there's more West 73rd Street panel to come. And also, at the end of the Fire series, you'll hear what we figured out finally on Thanksgiving 1975 about what the big headache really was. The Tandem survey continues in the next program.